Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to First Issue Club, your bi-weekly comic book podcast.
Whoa, hold the phone there, Mike.
I know something's changed to this intro very drastically.
What is happening?
I think the show's going to go bi-weekly for a little bit is what's happening. If you don't know, we're, I think, terminating our Patreon after this month.
Mm-hmm.
Our content's going to go away. If you're considering
Becoming
joining
a member. Pause.
It's not a good time to do it. Life's been kind of busy for all of us lately, and we like to update the Patreon every week to feel like we're providing really good content to people for...
And a worthy service to pay $4
Yeah,
for.
in order to support us, we want to make sure that we're doing enough to make people feel like they're at least getting a little bit of their money's worth to help us out.
Bang for their buck, you might say.
And if, you know, our lives aren't lending themselves right now to sustaining that the way we want to.
Right.
So, first update, Patreon out of here.
R.I.P.
Second update, at least for the time being, First Issue Club is going to be going bi-weekly.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably going to have longer episodes because of that.
Yes.
Normally, these are like a half an hour. We're probably going to end up going to an hour or more every week. The format of the show might change a little bit.
Might tweak it.
We're probably going to talk more...
Broadly?
Right, exactly, about comic book news, comic book lifestyle.
Whoa!
Some of our own experiences, a lot of the Patreon and the conversations that we love having on that are...
Going to bleed into this.
Personal conversations, fun arguments.
Yeah. Quizzes, lists, everything.
And honestly, a lot of the people who have been following us for a long time and support us on the Patreon say they sometimes prefer the Patreon to the main episode.
Right.
So maybe this is what the podcast should have been all along, is a little more loose and less formatted as a reading club. We're still going to read first issues. We're still going to talk about comic books we're loving.
Yeah.
But we're going to have a longer format that's going to let us BS a little bit more as we talk about this industry and medium that we so love so much.
Yeah. Love and love to hate.
Yep. On this episode,
Mm-hmm.
we're staying true to format one last time. We're going to be talking about Twig. It is our first issue of the week out on Image Comics.
Pew, 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 pew.
By
Skottie Young.
Skottie Young and Kyle Strahm.
Two bombastic creators.
Yeah.
One is a Kansas City boy through and through.
Okay.
And the other
It's pretty near Kansas City?
is Kansas City adjacent.
Okay. That's what I thought.
He's in the area, we'll say.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have to drive far to see him.
We stan a KC and KC adjacent person that we can easily stalk when needed.
Yeah. If you're a Midwestern comic creator, you have been stanned by us indefinitely. You have just a running stan.
You really have to screw up for us to not stan you anymore.
Right. And please do not prove us right. And just keep being sweeties.
Buddy, it happens sometimes.
It's happened more times than we'd like to admit on this show.
Can I tell you something?
I wish you would.
It's fun. Having a comic book podcast, you know, it's something that we've done for so long that it is now, I think you'd agree with this, is somewhat part of our identity.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're getting to know someone or you meet a new person and they're trying to figure out what your whole deal is, this is one of the things that gets mentioned, that you spend a lot of your time working on podcasts and doing this sort of thing. That being said, there's an expression that comes across people's faces.
Oh, no.
When they hear, one, that you're a podcast person.
Yep.
And two, especially that it's a comic book podcast, that they assume that you're a certain type of person that sucks.
It's a mixture of horror and pity.
Exactly.
They're just like, like, why would you waste your time doing that?
And I know. And I'm like, there is a really cool, awesome side to comic books and comic book fandom. But a lot of times what we focus on is, in the media anyway, is creators who fuck up and toxic fandom and all that stuff.
Do you know who ruined the perception of comic book people? The Big Bang Theory fucked us hard.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think it maybe romanticized it a little bit, if anything.
I think it painted people who collect comic books as like weird,
antisocial
and, like,
weirdos,
antisocial and like non-approachable.
Yeah,
and like, do those people exist? Yeah, but they also exist in fantasy football circles, like CrossFit circles, like any fandom, any hobby, you'll have those toxic kind of fans.
So when I say toxic, I'm thinking more like aggro,
evil characters,
like exclusionary of women,
gatekeepers.
Yeah, gatekeepers. There's another level of toxicity in
the city
comic book culture that is similar to what you hear about like video games. You know what I mean?
Which that toxicity in video games is a whole nother level as well.
Yeah. I don't want to beat around the bush too much. We're talking about like racism, homophobia.
Oh, xenophobia, transphobia.
All of it. All that stuff, right? And there are people that exist in all kinds of fandoms that are lurking in all these dark corners of the internet.
Yeah. Ours is called Comicsgate.
And yeah, that's the nasty part of it. This is kind of spinning out of control of like why I got on this topic, but podcasters, you sometimes imagine those being the toxic,
sure,
psycho people.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We initially started the conversation about standing someone unless they creep into another realm.
Then you lose your stand status.
And then sometimes, we do have creators that we've been fans of that we find out are part of that toxic.
Yeah. We had to drop a few interviews because of it.
We did. This podcast, we like to try to keep a safe, welcoming space that doesn't have room for hate. So,
keep the hate out.
If it's your first time listening, why? Weird one to start on. I can't believe you're still here after the whole preamble.
May not be a good. This may be the best spot for new readers if we're mixing up the format.
I think the one where we actually start with a different format.
Oh, well then fuck off. We'll see you next.
So yeah,
time.
Tune in next time.
That's the one you want to really jump on.
This episode, I'm really gonna gatekeep.
Oh God, I was gonna say it's gonna be our swan song, but never mind.
This one's for the old heads only. It's going to be inside jokes from here on out.
The club gets canceled.
That's the title of this episode. Okay, I don't think we had a ton of comic book news this week. I know that, the big thing is Doctor Strange is coming out.
Yes.
The world premiere already happened.
We can go see it tomorrow.
The midnight release is tomorrow, or I don't know if a midnight release. Is it today?
Well, it's Thursday night, which if we release the episode...
We're recording on a Wednesday night.
Right. So
we'll release this tomorrow.
Right.
Normally on Thursdays around like 5, 6 o'clock is when they start showing these things, right? Okay.
And that's when I will be completely off the internet.
Yeah.
I have somehow managed not to get anything spoiled for me.
Yeah.
Which is super hard nowadays.
I took next week off work. I might go to a daytime showing in the middle of the week next week at like one of those massive theaters where hopefully there aren't a lot of people around. I did that for Eternals.
Oh, sure.
And it went pretty well. I tried a similar thing for Spider-Man. Awful. I already talked about my experience on here. I'm not going to rehash it, but it's going to take a lot to get me to keep going to theaters, especially now that we get like these movies streaming so quickly.
Right.
Like watching the Batman at home.
Oh.
And being able to pause it after a fucking hour and a half.
Yeah. Just go do your
and
own
be
thing.
Like, I'll come back to this later when I feel like it. Like made that movie 10 times better than it probably would have been in a movie theater.
Hell yeah.
And I'm not surrounded by like weirdos. I love being able to watch movies in my home, and I think sorry theaters, and I know a lot of people romanticize
sorry
them,
theaters,
but
sorry B&B, sorry AMC.
But not a fan. I am not a fan of you guys.
I think everyone just lost their goddamn minds in how to act in public.
Yeah.
Because we've been kicked out of everything for 2.5 years.
Yep.
And so everyone was hooting and hollering.
And part of this might be regional, too, because we're in the Midwest, and there's still some major COVID denial here.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we're experiencing incredible issues with school attendance right now in our area because so many kids and teachers are getting B2.
Mm-hmm.
Go to any restaurant in our city.
Oh, no. They'll just spit all over you.
Walk around any supermarket or mega chain store. Almost no one.
Yeah.
When I'm less than 1% sometimes, it seems like, of people are wearing masks out in public now in Kansas City. So that's something for me that I'm just not comfortable with. And
yeah,
I'm not the type that I really want to like shame people or anything, but it's just not for me. You know what I mean?
You have the option to now.
And we too, like my wife and I too, like watch after my sister-in-law who has Down syndrome, who's an immunocompromised person.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I get nasty looks when I wear my mask out.
Wow.
And I went to pick up some takeout the other day, and a guy gave me a weird look, and another person was like, "What?" and pointed at my mask. And I was like, man, I got 2 in this like short, brief encounter.
Really?
Yes.
That is wild.
And I was like, you don't know me. You don't know my life. You don't know the situation I'm in. Like, I might be sick right now.
Right.
Trying to protect you.
Unreal.
I don't know. Kansas City's a fucked up place.
For all its faults, we live here. And that's where we're from.
I'm stuck.
Permanently tied, you might say.
But you're making it happen, though. You've got your tickets.
I do, yeah.
You're going to a Friday showing, confirmed?
Yep,
okay.
6 p.m.
Yeah. So
I'll be there with my mask.
Internet's going to be tough. I've already seen the most recent commercial where you're getting more and more and more.
I know. It's like you can't even watch those anymore.
I know. There's a couple things I saw in the most recent commercial that I'll not mention because we're so close.
Preach.
But I was disappointed because I was like, oh, that kind of ruins a little bit of fun for me. You know, it was another funny thing. Now we're really going on a tangent. It was so funny to me that the Spider-Man movie was still in theaters, which I'm assuming that everyone listening to this has seen it at this point or is not.
Oh, if you haven't, why are you listening to a comic book podcast?
But it was wild to me that the Spider-Man movie was still in theaters and they changed the marketing to show all 3 Spider-Men.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was like,
they're just
that's
like,
the whole point of the movie.
You've
and
seen it.
I guess maybe they were like, if you haven't seen it yet, maybe this will push you over the edge was the idea. But it was funny for like the crux of the movie, which was this big surprise.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, here it is now.
It's
been a month.
Yeah.
Like maybe this helps get a second wave of fans in. I don't know.
Well, by
Or
then there's no way you
viewer.
haven't heard about it.
I guess.
Because, I mean, even on social media, after like a week, 2 weeks,
Yep.
it had been memed. It had been talked about. There has been screen grabs. Like,
Yep.
there's no, like, I think I saw a fucking Colgate ad with all 3 of this. But, like, there's no way you hadn't seen it by now. And so for their marketing, they're just like, fuck, if everyone else is going to do it, let's just do it ourselves and at least make it look cool.
Imagine the original theatrical run of Empire Strikes Back is out. And after it's been in theaters for 3 weeks, they change all the movie posters to say, Darth is his dad.
You'll never guess who Luke's dad is.
Yeah, right? Like, that's what it's like.
I mean, but that just speaks to how we market and advertise stuff now.
Yeah.
It's wild. Guess who Darth's dad?
Well, this was the thing with like the Mandalorian, where knowing about Baby Yoda became so hard to avoid. that it was like you just know it. So
Mhm.
they ultimately just had to make it part of the marketing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, after the first 3 episodes, like,
It was just like
a phenomenon.
it was like come to watch Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
At
If
that
my
point.
mom knows about Baby Yoda, then, like, the general public at large knows about Baby Yoda.
Okay, but so I wanted to talk briefly or just mention some fun things that I've seen about like the world premiere.
Mhm.
One of which was, and I think I saw this on J. Scott Campbell's Instagram because he got to go.
Oh, what?
I always love seeing comic book creators get to go to these things.
Yeah, totally.
That is like maybe some story they were a part of, or they did like a classic cover for it, and Marvel makes sure that they're, even though they're not being compensated well for the movie,
or at all,
at least they get to be like in the same room as Benedict Cumberbatch. I guess that's your prize for having created this thing that's going to make them ultimately like $1 billion later on. That's a whole other fucked up side of
Here's
this.
some free snacks
that we don't have time to get into on this episode. But he was taking a video and kind of zoomed in on Elizabeth Olsen walking the red carpet, and the crowd was screaming, "Wanda, Wanda, over here!"
Oh my god!
And I was like, "How delusional are these fans?"
She has a real name, dorks.
They're calling her Wanda on the red carpet. Like, I don't know. Evolve.
Totally. You think? Well, do you think when Mark Hamill walks down the street, they go, "Luke"?
I bet. I'm
Luke!
sure people do.
So like, it's just you play such an iconic character that you're just that forever now.
Yeah.
I have to now respond to Elizabeth and Wanda. Apparently.
It's just insane that adults would call her Wanda. It's it's insulting.
It is. Like, I have a real name.
Yeah.
And you will address me as such.
This is why Jerry Seinfeld got it right. Just playing Jerry Seinfeld.
He's also an idiot and can't remember any other name.
That was the move.
Jerry.
Now, imagine just being called Kramer the rest of your life.
I think he just wants to be called for any acting job.
Oh, that's right. He kind of got canceled, right?
He did get canceled.
So
he said some pretty fucked up shit.
We don't necessarily have sympathy for him as I originally.
No. So if you see him,
believe.
Call him Kramer.
Call him Kramer, I guess, or George.
You
should call Kramer George if you see him. Okay. So that was one thing from the premiere I thought was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other was I saw a social media influencer who's like a TikTok, Instagram person who you might be familiar with, Savannah Moss. Do you know who this person is?
No.
Okay, have you ever seen videos of a girl in like a Starbucks apron pouring like milk and like missing a glass and then doing like a spin and falling over in these like quick, weird flash cut sort of surreal scenes? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
I don't know who this person is.
Okay, this person is like has a insanely massive following on Instagram.
For falling down?
For pouring milk and falling down is like her shtick.
That's amazing. Good for her.
She was at the Doctor Strange premiere in like a gown on the red carpet, and she posted some photos from it, and I was like, how the fuck does this person get invited to the world premiere of this?
You get enough followers and you say, we need you to like tweet some stuff and take pictures.
I guess her being on the red carpet makes it cool to like
nerd stuff?
Tweens.
I guess. Like, you can't fucking get Justin Bieber or something? Like, we're now like resorting to social media influencers?
My thing is, I don't know if Justin Bieber's as cool as like...
You shut your mouth. You hold your tongue.
To like really young people?
Is that it now? That's the shift. It's like flashing the pan influencers that are like
YouTubers and influencers are the people who like younger people really care about what they're doing.
Here's a word of the wise: don't put a YouTuber on the fucking red carpet ever.
They're going to do some stunt and make it about them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's why they have a YouTube channel. They'll do like a prank or something.
Earlier today, I was talking to someone and I was like, why do so many of like the younger people I end up like collaborating with on projects, a lot of the younger people really hate getting feedback and seem like there's a different ego there than like the other people I work with or people I grew up around working. And I was like, what is it about that generation that made them that way? And the person I was talking to was like, it could be the growing up with the internet. And I was like, I'm an idiot for even like not realizing for a second that it was like, yeah, they grew up with the internet and social media constantly. Of course they're going to be
critical of feedback.
Yeah, a little more self-involved and I don't know.
But I did it perfect the first time. Well, no, you didn't.
I'm going to take a hit during this because everyone hates when you talk about their generation. And I don't know, shit on my generation. There's true things about millennials and blanket statements you can make about most of us that I 100% think are true. But there's just a thing I've noticed with younger people and the whole idea of like main character energy is really funny to me.
Oh.
And I think it's true. And I think people really like live as the main character. And there's a part of that means you're right or it's like your story and your deal. And when you get into the real world and collaboration, like
you can't have that.
You've got to have other perspectives and you got to respect other people's opinions for them to respect yours. And
you can't have main character energy during a group project.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works.
Right.
Even Hannah Montana had to collaborate and, make something work.
The internet, folks. Our news for this week was the internet.
The internet
exists.
Ain't it something?
Yeah.
The internet. When's it gonna be done?
Did you...
Next on First Issue Club, the internet. Is it over?
Is it canceled? Can we
Is it
cancel
over
the
yet?
internet? I posted something on my Instagram today.
Sick.
Where I was like, I was staring at my dog this morning and looking at him nap, and all the we're hearing all the rumors of like Roe v. Wade stuff now, and all the awful stuff that's going on in Ukraine, and I was just like, I wish I could Freaky Friday my dog for just a day.
A hot second.
And just like only think about sleeping and playing. And it occurred to me that I have this thought all the time. And the frequency of this thought increases the more there's like stressful news and things around me of just being like jealous of my dog's life. Like as a person
gets to poop outside. People feed him. Pretty sweet gig.
With like object permanence and all these like self-identity. Like I shouldn't be jealous of a dog. But I am. I find myself in that situation right now. That's the state we're in.
It is wild how we thought the classic film The Purge was like a joke. And we are almost sprinting towards that scenario. It seems daily now. Of just like the fuck it mentality of like, all right, just reverse everything. And then once a year, let's just go ham.
Run up on stage and punch Dave Chappelle if you want to.
It started with
no rules.
Yeah, we will look back on the moment when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock of people being way more comfortable with the idea of the purge.
Broke the seal of there just being
right.
like no social
That
rules.
was the fall of Rome right there. Will Smith's like defending his wife.
Oh shit, I can do that? I can just walk on stage?
It is strange though, and it was weird the Oscars put the chairs so close to the stage.
Yeah. I don't like having an opinion on this.
I have one, but we'll save it for never. Let's get into comic books, so that's why we're here.
Yes, let's talk about Twig.
Twig by Skottie Young, Kyle Strahm.
Yep.
It is a so when I read this, I instantly had Jim Henson vibes.
Oh, completely.
And Skottie Young.
That's a compliment right there.
Oh, I have a smattering of compliments for this book.
Yeah.
So be prepared, folks. When I started reading this book, I was just like, this is 100% a Skottie Young joint.
Yep.
Like with
I completely agree.
Bully Wars and The Person You Love in the Dark or whatever the newest book he did. He definitely has a tone and a vibe and like a theme he goes for. Mm-hmm. And this one is kind of like, tonally, it's not a child's comic.
No, I wouldn't say so at all.
But it's not an adult comic. And it's not even like for tweens. It's like this weird realm of just like early 20-ish, like finding yourself still. Like you're not old enough to worry about taxes, but you're too old to try to do TikTok dances.
I think it's an adult comic, but the style sits somewhere in this weird blended realm of like you mentioned, Muppet nostalgia, and fairy tale sort of imagery that's also mixed with the grotesque.
So,
I would never give this to a kid because while the cover is very cute and the colors are brilliant, there's some imagery in the character design, the environment that is like kind of disturbing. Like the teeth on the trees. Like made me shudder.
Yeah. The mountain.
Walking out of a mountain's butthole was kind of scary.
Yeah. So, unbeknownst to me, I was right when I compared it to Jim Henson because this is the Dark Crystal.
Yeah, kind of.
This is like
it's got a kind of Dark Crystal vibe
in the realm of kind of fun, but also horrifying.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Like it's a 1 of 5. So
I didn't realize
that. I don't love that.
I thought it was ongoing.
I don't love that it's a 1 of 5 because
it's got
legs.
It's got legs. Yeah, this could be a way longer thing.
I can't go any further without saying this. The character design of everything in this book was top tier.
I mean, while we're saying it's reminiscent of Muppets for us, or we made some sort of connection there, the character design is holistically original.
Every new landscape and creature that was in it was just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
So cool.
It is a thing of its own. It's completely original in that regard.
And I wish we could talk to Skottie or Kyle and be like, did you guys collaborate on the different worlds and what would be in it? Or like, Skottie, were you just like, here's kind of the vibe I want for this page and this page, and you just like go crazy with it, Kyle? Because it really was something I've never seen before of like ingenuity, cleverness of it. Just really, really fun flipping the page and seeing what was going to come next.
Totally. The premise of the book is this little blue guy his father passes away, and his father has this really important job of taking relics that are found and finding their purpose, which is like a really cool, very open-ended adventure story thing.
Right.
And his son was going to be a chef, had a different career path, but because his father died an untimely death, he's like the only person who knows the ropes and ins and outs of this so well that he has to take up his dad's job and go on an adventure all his own.
Yeah.
And then things go haywire right off the bat.
Yeah. Like the guy who's supposed to point him in the right direction
is dead.
Which you hate to see that.
Which, I mean, that was a really good way to end the book. And it again, tonally making it something that's scarier, creepier. I expect it to only get darker and weirder from here.
Yeah.
But there is a magic spot, I think, for these sort of things in people our age to get really excited about going on a cartoony adventure and the nostalgia kick because of that, and having grown up with cartoons that we did and all that fun stuff. And then also giving us this more epic, gritty side of it that
is more real.
Builds a story that we're engaged with in the style of something that
is familiar.
And it almost creates this weird contortion or unease with the end product because of that dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And Kyle Strahm, again, to compliment his art, is a real master at like starting this book as cutesy fun world.
Yeah.
And then littering in all these like really creepy, weird things the further you get into the book that border on grotesque. So it's such an interesting comic. I know the pre-orders for it were like out of this world.
Yeah.
Part of that was that there was a con exclusive kind of sketchbook preview thing for it.
Yeah.
That
took off.
Had
spec sales went through the roof.
Yeah, specking it did. So because I think a lot due to that, and this team is just cool.
Yeah, I mean, when you get Skottie Young and Kyle Strahm on a book, you're like, okay, well, I'm going to take notice because both of these are masters in their respected fields.
Yeah.
And to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, like, these are two conflicting mediums. Like, the dark, gritty story that Skottie Young is telling mixed with the kind of fanciful world that Twig is still in with the way that Kyle Strahm is illustrating it. You're just like, whoa, this is like kind of, they're almost like combating one another.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to see that because, like you said, as we go further in the story and as Twig will go further in his journey, that landscape may change and it may be less cutesy and more kind of deranged and unhinged.
We will see.
Yeah, we will see.
One way to find out. Did you see how many retailer exclusive covers there were for this?
No. Did you?
Holy shit. Yes. I bought this on was it in Skottie Young's Substack?
Ooh, I bought an exclusive from Kyle Strahm.
Did you really?
Uh-huh. It's a secret splat cover, which is his little yellow friend.
His little yellow friend. Who was he like supposed to be a thing, or is he a fanciful creature?
Well, it talked and it lit up like an iridescent light.
It was like a slug that lit up.
Yeah, and like it sassed him. It loved to sass Twig. And it was like a very literal thing. So I think it's another creature in the book.
I really liked that character. It was nice to kind of get that.
It was his Jake the dog from like Adventure Time.
It was great comic relief for sure.
Yes, totally, yeah.
Okay, I just pulled up Skottie Young's most recent Substack. Okay.
Which, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead.
Let me count these real quick. I can do this quick because it's in a grid. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Okay.
So a row of 9 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
54
high. So whatever 6 times 9 is.
54.
54. That's 54 retailer exclusive covers for Twig.
Necessary.
There's the picture of it.
I'm staring at it and I'm almost dumbfounded.
Yeah.
Like in some of these are just like reprints or
virgins
or like sketch covers. Oh my god, there's like a Nintendo one. You see that? It's like a Nintendo homage cover.
That's funny.
That is cool. Some of these variants are like they depict Twig as like really like a like Grover dropped in like radioactive goo.
Well, I think the like I Hate Fairyland.
Oh, totally. I got that one.
Sort of
that
side of Scott. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Very fun.
But that side of Skottie Young, there's a certain fandom and there's a certain expectation that this stuff's going to be weird.
Yeah.
in that regard. And then if you're a Kyle Strahm fan who did like Spread,
yes,
was it? Which is like super
gory
horror story.
Yeah.
in a post-apocalyptic setting that is just, I mean, the amount of gore in it, you're just like, wow.
It's wild. If you haven't read Spread yet, go get it now.
It is wild. So I think that kind of informed like some of the twisted nature of a handful of these variants, because they are kind of dark, or some of the depictions of the character kind of live in that uncanny valley space.
Yeah.
And it's seemingly on purpose, where you're just seeing this like weird rendering of this cartoon thing that it looks almost too real, that makes it extra nightmarish.
It's like when you see those articles of just like, what would Popeye look like if he was real?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh my God, that is disgusting. Like, there's a reason he's a cartoon, folks. So Twig is a new adventure. Just started. Well, like we said, 1 of 5. So low barrier to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
You know when it's going to end.
Easy to commit.
Easy to read.
I'll say it's sparse in language.
Mm-hmm. It is the English language.
I was wondering, when I was kind of hearing about the book and the synopsis, I was like, is it going to kind of be like Bone?
It's hard to compare things to Bone.
And it wasn't anywhere near like the dialogue heaviness of that, but it had some of the like fanciful nature of it.
Yeah. Bone is more wholesome.
It's an extremely easy read. I'll say Twig would be something that'd be really fun to just read and trade.
Yes.
I'm not saying don't buy the floppies.
I don't suggest you buy the floppies because they're fun. So like, let's say if Bone is stay with me. If Bone is 2% milk,
mm-hmm.
Twig is a White Russian.
Okay.
Just a little bit of something extra. You're like, oh,
yeah,
this is naughty.
Sure.
I shouldn't be drinking this and then going to work.
Yeah.
But so yeah, Twig. Fun.
Bye.
Wait.
Oh.
I have a few extra things.
Okay.
I read a few extra number 1s.
Oh, wow. I almost ended the show.
I know. That's why I had to stop you. You had your hand on the trigger there.
So anything now, bonus time.
Consider
stuff. Yourself lucky.
It was kind of a plethora of first issues this week.
Okay.
We covered the Obi-Wan first issue over on the Patreon.
Yeah.
Like we said, not the best time to get in on it because it's ending at the end of May.
I do give my Star Wars rankings.
Yeah. So if you want to give $4 and hang out for a month with, I think we're going to try to push as much shit on there as we can.
We're not going to stop you, at least.
Yeah. And we have over 100 episodes on the Patreon. So if you want, just hop on over. $4. I also read Metal Society, which is by Zach Kaplan, who did Port of Earth.
I'm a Zach Kaplan fan.
And this is a book about robots and humans.
Okay.
In MMA fighting. Now you hear that and you go, Greg, that sounds a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't stop you with that assumption. But the way Zach laid it out, you're like, okay, this is kind of unique.
How do they handicap the robots? Because you would think otherwise robots win every time. Is this the crux of the story?
I'm so glad you asked that question. Because Zach is way ahead of you and answers it. So humans long ago on this world, our world, Earth.
Humans long ago on this world, any story that starts like that, I'm going to love it.
Yep, they're dead.
Oh, no!
All humans, they died because we ruined the environment and we killed each other with nuclear bombs, kind of similar to what's happening now. So robots, in their infinite wisdom, genetically bred us back into existence.
Got it.
To be servants to them.
That's funny.
So we're working their garbage fields to make new metal, to make new robots, yada yada yada. The way they genetically mutated the DNA of the mutants is like you can fight metal. Like we're like super strong now.
You almost have like exoskeleton or something.
Right. So they bred us back to like kill them. They're like, let's give them a fighting chance at least. And so now the humans are just like, oh wait, we can fuck each other and make more humans.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like, okay, so we can now rebuild the human race.
Yeah.
And like This is like the first time we have like a human robot fight. So this is like the premiere fight.
Okay, yeah, all right.
They're just like, well, let's just see what happens here.
Historic event in this comic.
Right. And this is like to let humans be like more up on the higher society. Because right now we're living in like shanty towns.
Okay.
And so this is an event.
I really identified with these monster human hybrids.
Something about them really just clicked with me. And so like the story is just like, if this woman beats this robot in a fight, like, well, I guess we can live in houses now. Like, it's so crazy. And
everyone, or just that human,
like the human race, because there's only like 30 of them.
Oh, there's only 30 people.
Right. Like, it's a small group.
Got it.
They didn't like mass breed us.
Yeah. I was picturing Hunger Games, kind of.
No, It's a small group that they've genetically made, and then those genetically made humans are like, oh my god, penises and vaginas go together, and then like they figured it out from there. But like I said, Zach Kaplan's writing it. He's typically written
great sci-fi writer,
bangers.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where it goes.
Cool.
Metal Society. Next up, from Peter Milligan,
my guy,
who we fucking really love,
Ecstatics fame,
wrote the book called Dogs of London.
Okay.
Now, Dogs of London.
Why does it sound familiar?
Has this kind of like, you're reading it and you're just like, oh, this is like a mod version of Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
And you're like, it's going through the motions. You're like, okay, like, it's entertaining. Like, is this like a period piece? Like, it's like gangster mod, like influence or whatever. Like, this is fun, but like, what's going on here? And then the last 4 pages blew my fucking mind.
Do I even want to know?
No, I'm gonna let you. I'm gonna let you read it, because like the twist in it, you're like, what the actual fuck? And like, it has hooked me for the rest of the series to see where it goes.
I'm really excited to read it then.
And so, and like, I bought into it because I'm like, well, Peter Milligan, like, you can't fucking go wrong. This guy writes an amazing story, and wow, was it something to behold.
Hell yeah. Awesome. I'm excited.
And the artwork in it too was crazy.
Cool.
And yeah, so those are the other first issues that I read.
Nice.
It was nice.
Great recos.
Thank you. Now you can hit that button.
Bye. First Issue Club is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company via Space Camper Cosmic IPA. Our music is courtesy of the fine folks at Primary Color Music. You can find, friend, and follow us on social media at First Issue Club or firstissueclub.com. You can support First Issue Club by joining us on our Patreon for additional content at patreon.com/firstissueclub.